Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and Aurifil Thread Company has a lot of free patterns on their website. They have one in particular that I'm very interested in making today. It is a border print placemat, and the pattern is from Jenny Beyer. I'll put a link in the description so that you can follow along, and it's a very easy placemat. It has unusual looking pieces, but it goes together really easily. The pattern consists of 2 pages, the directions on one and the template on the other. There's a measurement here that says this has to be 2 inches. So from one line to another, make sure that it's 2 inches on your printer. Just make sure your printer is marked at 100% and it'll print out fine. And this is all we're going to need for pattern pieces. I like to take this particular page and print it out 4 times. There are some areas we're going to have to put some pieces together, so it'll just be easier if we print it out more than once. So there's 2 pattern pieces. Both of them have a center line. That center line is meant for you to take this and put 2 together back to back. If you've cut out 4, you're going to be able to do that and get 2 of these triangular shapes with that center together, and you can just tape that right together. You're going to do the same thing for the other pattern piece. You're going to take that pattern, fold it over, and you're going to be able to tape that together. When they're taped together, I'll have 2 of this large shape and I'll have 2 triangles. Now, if you don't want to do this in paper, you can do it in template plastic and just transfer the marks onto the template plastic. The placemat is put together very easily. You'll see 2 long lines. Now the lines are used as a grain line marking, but they're also lines to keep you knowing that that is going to be the outside border. This is going to be the inside. So we have some odd looking shapes. So how does this actually go together? Well, it's very easy. Let me show you the layout in paper, and then we'll transfer it to fabric. So I now have 2 large pieces and 2 triangles. I've cut 2 extra triangles out because I want to show you how this is going to be to put it together. If you know how it's going to be put together, you're going to be able to lay out your fabric on knowing this. So you could actually make 2 more triangles if you'd like. The larger pieces, the large edge is going to be the outside. The small piece is the inside. So when they're sewn together, those edges are going to match. The triangular pieces, that seam is going to go on the edge, and this seam is going to go on the edge. And when all the fabric's cut out, you need 4 of those. They are going to go on the edge. This is how it's going to be put together. And it's going to be sewn in sections. So you're going to be able to sew those 2 triangles on, and those here. Then that seam down the center is going to be able to be sewn. But knowing this is going to help you with the placement of your fabric. If you're using a striped fabric or a floral print, you're going to be able to have that print go all the way around by knowing how this is going to be constructed together. You're going to need to cut 2 identical pieces of this size and 4 identical pieces of this size. So I've chosen this fabric from Timeless Treasures because of the footballs, and Super Bowl is coming up. This would look great on a table. This fabric has 4 long identical strips, and I would like to use as much as I can with this fabric up. When I take the body piece and I lay it down, some of the pattern that I want is missing. So I'd like to make this bigger. So it's going to be wider when I'm done, and I want to make it longer. So we're going to take the same pattern pieces and we're going to make this a lot bigger, and we're going to just still use these pieces. And this is going to work with any fabric that has these really big, long pieces in them. You need to have 4 pieces fabric cut exactly the same. You're going to find the stop and starting point. Start with one edge of the fabric And where that starts, you need to find the starting point on the other. So I have this score line with the gray and the black. If I follow down the fabric, when I get to my first line that is identical, that is the size of my repeat. So I want to be able to take and cut this all apart. So this has been 1 yard of fabric. So I'm going to be able to cut 4 long strips from this. And I'm going to follow the repeat to here and cut that down and just follow the pattern. And then I'm going to be able to cut the same mark down again and the same mark. So I'm going to have 4 long pieces. So for the center part of the pattern, I'm going to need 2 of those long strips. And because you followed the cutting line, they're going to just match up perfectly. I want the table runner as long as I can get and as wide as I can get. So the width has already been determined by the design. The length is how much fabric you're going to have. Match up all of the seams in the 2 pieces and then fold it in half. It has to be nice and flat and there's no wrinkles in there, and it's nice and flat at the end because you want both of these pieces identical when you finish cutting. I'm not going to cut the fold side. I'm going to cut the 4 raw edges that are going to determine the length. So I know all of my patterns match up. This was the original design. From here, you could decide, do you want this on the outside or do you want this on the outside? Because it's a matter of just turning the template. I want the footballs in the middle. So it's going to go towards the smallest side. So I'm going to place it along this edge. This line, I'm going to use a cutting line. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep that line going right up. So take a ruler and you can just hold, or you can tape that straight edge right against a ruler edge. I'm just going to tape it there so it holds it temporarily. Place the pattern piece so it's right along that edge. Now I'm going to be able to just cut this right off. And with that edge cut, I now have the right angle that I need. I've made it longer and wider. When I open it up, I'm going to have 2 identical pieces, very long. These are ready to go for the middle. Let's cut the sides. To cut the 4 ends, you will only need 1 more strip out of that fabric, so you will have fabric left over. Take the fabric and fold it in half so that the patterns match up. From this piece, I will need to cut 4 of these. I know that the center is going to be my footballs, so the large edge is going to go along here. To make the 4 ends, we're going to make this piece a little bit bigger. It'll just be easier than having to mark all of the edges. And to make this longer, we're going to take that long edge, the one with the arrow on it, and tape it onto a larger piece of paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue this line right up. I'm going to do it to both sides. So what I'm doing is I'm just making that triangle longer. So the next measurement is how big you're going to make this triangle. And you're going to want it the same measurement as your fabric. In my case, it's 9 1/4. So I'm going to mark my 9 1/4 inch mark on my ruler, and the triangle edges have just been made bigger. Now I can cut off this extra, and that piece is going to fit perfectly onto this fabric. Keeping your ends straight, you can cut out that piece. You will not be using these pieces. So I'm going to have 2 identical sides. Match up those seams and just sew a 1/4 inch down. And you're going to do it on both sides and on both pieces. And when that seam is put together, you'll see how the lines are matching up. And both sides are now the same, and you have one very long straight seam to sew. So take one seam and just finger press it going in one direction. Take the seam that's going to match and press it in the other direction. And do that to both sides. So now when you take these and you put them together, those seams will nestle up. And you're going to be able to stitch all the way right to the end and make sure those seams are opposing there. And when that one long seam is done, when you open up and press it, you'll notice that whatever you decided your outside picture is going to go all the way around. So now we have a nice long table runner. With the leftover fabric, let's make the smaller version and make it into a placemat. Take that one long piece of fabric that you have left over and match up the seams. You need 2 and 4. This time I'm going to have the words go in the center, which means my point will need to go in the center here also. And with that leftover fabric from the large table runner, I'm going to be able to take 2 pieces, and my end is going to be exactly the end that I need. So I have 2 of my center pieces and my 4 triangles. Sew them in sections, sew that center line just the same as you did the large table runner. So here is the original size, and if you match it up, you'll see that it's just the outside that's bigger. The center remains the same. So I was able to get a 56-inch long table runner, a placemat, and I was even able to cut out a second placemat. However, if you look really close, you'll notice 2 seams. I just didn't have enough fabric. I'll just pretend that just didn't exist. It is a fun project to make. The pieces are not hard. It looks a lot more complicated, and it's very interesting to see the different layouts you can get all from one fabric. You just need to move that pattern piece an inch and it's going to change the appearance. And it's quick and easy. I do hope you give this a try. I was able to get 2 placemats and a big table runner, all from 1 yard of fabric. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.